He might not have sold out Madison Square Garden, but according to Jim Cornette, Matt Hardy has just sold out his soul. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling, and Jim Cornette is doing what he does best. He's going on a rant. He is bashing wrestlers he doesn't like, and at the moment, he is bashing Matt freaking Hardy. And why is he bashing Matt Hardy? Because Matt Hardy was doing the opposite of that. Matt Hardy was praising the Elite. And while I can understand Jim Cornette's point of view, while I do not like the Bucks, I've never liked the Bucks. I think the Bucks absolutely suck. And if Matt Hardy wants to praise them, then so be it. I don't agree with Matt Hardy, but is he really selling his soul for giving the Young Bucks a bit of praise? Well, according to Jim Cornette, he is. So this is what Matt Hardy had to say, first of all, when he praised the Elite. Matt Hardy says, quote, "Dark Order versus the Elite was a fantastic match. It's nice to see Dark Order earn such a well-deserved spotlight. The Young Bucks and Adam Page are extraordinary talents that will unfortunately get their flowers way later than they should. Between this and the toxic Cornette cult, these guys don't get the adoration that they truly deserve. The diehard Elite fans are phenomenal and get why they're special, but there's a huge chunk of fans that fail to give them the credit they deserve. Give these guys their flowers." End of quote. Okay, like Matt Hardy, I disagree big time. I do not think they're extraordinary talents. I think they fucking suck. But if Matt Hardy thinks they're great talents, then so be it. But Matt Hardy, in fairness, he did bring up this toxic Cornette cult. He called out Cornette. Cornette never came after Matt first. You could argue Jim Cornette was defending himself, and this is how Jim Cornette did defend himself. He replied to Matt Hardy, quote, "Geez, Matt, I could understand selling your soul for rock and roll, but selling it for Adderall? Even if you have to abandon your principles and verbally fillet these childish cretins for your check, leave my fans alone. It's not their fault Tony's not paying them enough to lie." End of quote. So I think that's fair enough for Jim Cornette. Basically, shooting back at Matt Hardy, accusing him of praising the Young Bucks for a paycheck. Is that true? It might very well be. Matt replied to Jim Cornette, quote, "Geez, Jim, haven't sold my soul. I'm sticking to my principles and telling the truth. I feel morally obligated to do the right thing by my friends, although that's probably foreign to you. I earn a check because I'm great at what I do and still employable. Keep on sending dissension amongst fans with your shit. It's too sweet." End of quote. So Matt Hardy firing back, saying that Jim Cornette is loyalty to him and friends is a foreign thing to Jim Cornette, and he says that Matt Hardy is still great and that he's still employable, unlike Jim Cornette. So I mean, that's all fine. Matt Hardy basically throws Cornette's name out there with being toxic and his toxic fans. Jim Cornette replies. Matt Hardy then replies and says that he hasn't sold his soul and that he's still good at what he does and that Jim Cornette is not. However, it did not end there, because Jim Cornette's buddy on his podcast, his co-host Brian Last. Who the hell is Brian Last, you might ask? I've no idea. But he started replying to Matt Hardy, and it all got out of hand. Brian Last said to Hardy, quote, "Matt Hardy thinks he's great at what he does. We've all been watching. His promos suck, his in-ring work is shit, and the only thing anyone has ever been interested in him doing is tagging in his brother. Jim telling the truth is seeding dissension. How many concussions is too many?" End of quote. So this guy here just burying Matt straight away, saying that Matt sucks, his promos suck, his ring work is shit, and the only thing good about Matt is his brother Jeff. Pretty sick burn if you ask me. Matt replied to this guy, quote, "I am great at what I do, Brian Least. I am great at pro wrestling. I am great at giving back and helping young talent. You're just some asshole with an opinion, and that opinion doesn't mean shit in reality, but most importantly, just an asshole." End of quote. Matt Hardy calling this guy Brian Least instead of Brian Last. Bit of a lame insult for Matt Hardy, but I mean, if this guy's opinion doesn't matter, then why is Matt replying to him? It makes Matt look a bit dumb. Matt's reply here. I mean, what you could argue what this Brian Last guy said, even though I disagree and I have enjoyed Matt, in certain periods over his career, and I definitely think he reinvented himself, and he did a big thing with the whole Broken character. You could argue he was a pioneer with that sort of cinematic match, even though it has been done before. Technically, I think Matt Hardy took it to the next level, so I will give Matt praise for that, but you can't deny that he's always been second best to his brother. Jeff's always been more popular, more of a draw, more over with the crowd, better to watch in the ring, able to do more athletic aerial maneuvers. I think Jeff Hardy always been more marketable. Yeah, Jeff Hardy's always been the better Hardy brother, but that doesn't mean that Matt Hardy is shit. Brian Last then replied, quote, "You've been a great enabler, but you know your crap has sucked for years, and that's Mr. Asshole to you, toxic." End of quote. Basically, what is this guy trying to say? That Matt's enabled his brother? Is he talking about drug use? Who knows? Matt replied, "Another shitty joke. Must be your forte, least. My shit's good. Your shit is shit, you toxic bitch-ass asshole." End of quote. Last then replied, "Are you trying to convince yourself? Your work is shit. Stay home. No one will care. You seem much more toxic than I am, with a track record to back it up. I'm better at what I do than you are at whatever it is you're still trying to do, Mr. Asshole to you." End of quote. Matt then replies, quote, "Don't have to convince myself. My live reactions, paycheck and appearance fees solidify I'm good. I don't know shit about you, nor care to. So keep doing what you're good at, you goofy bitch-ass asshole. I'll do the same and you can continue to whine and cry about it like a baby." End of quote. Last then replies, "How dare you? You're way goofier than me. You understand that you're the one whining and crying, right? Can you still comprehend that much? Once again, you seem quite toxic. Is everything okay?" End of quote. And Matt Hardy finally ends it. And this is probably the only time I think Matt Hardy gets the win, to be honest. I think this Brian Last guy was kind of burying Matt Hardy, and I think Matt Hardy's replies were pretty poor. But I think Matt, with his ending here, pretty much wins the conversation when we think about it. He says, quote, "Me stating that you two constantly feel a toxic culture isn't whining. It's just hard truths. You constantly moaning and bitching about me wrestling is whining and crying. Can you discern that you are a mooncalf? I'm great, by the way. Just did a huge con in Tennessee. Have 4 beautiful kids. Financially set for life. Still get to live my dream. Have major respect within my industry. And I'm considered a living legend. Been a huge contributor to pro wrestling, and no rando from the internet's opinion is going to change any of this, especially not an egotistical asshole like Brian Last. Congrats on the podcast. It'll be a great way to be remembered in history. Enough of this silly ass cyber convo. It's time to crawl up on top of my hot ass wife." End of quote. Look, that's it. I mean, that's all Matt Hardy had to say. It's time to crawl up on top of my hot ass wife, because I'm willing to bet his wife is hotter than anything Brian Last has ever touched, or Brian Last, or whatever. And I'm not burying Brian Last, but when you think about it, Matt Hardy, what he's saying is right. He is considered a legend, even if some people don't consider that. A lot of people would. He's got a lot of kids, beautiful kids, financially set for life. Nice house. He can pretty much earn a paycheck if he wants. He can do appearances, he can do this, he can do that. If he needs money, he can get it. If he wants to be a bum, if he wants to take drugs, if he wants to enable Jeff to do every drug under the sun, he can afford to do it. So yeah, no, Matt Hardy's made his career, and I agree with that. I mean, once he starts putting in figures and money and hot ass wives, then Matt Hardy kind of does win the conversation. But for me, the fact that Matt Hardy wasted so much time talking about this guy, then claiming he's not irrelevant, is weird. I mean, he's claiming this guy doesn't matter. He's claiming this guy's not important, yet he spent quite a while going back and forward with him. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really say much for Matt Hardy. Anyway, guys, there you go. Jim Cornette started this shit. Well, technically Matt Hardy started this shit. Then he got double teamed by Jim Cornette and his little co-host. I wonder why Jeff didn't tag in. Everybody wanted Jeff to tag in, but Jeff isn't saying shit. I guess Jeff's deleted social media. He's not really responding to this. Anyway, I guess if there was a ladder, he'd have fucking responded. He'd have jumped right off it. Anyway, guys, that is it. Matt Hardy, Jim Cornette. What a beef. What a beef indeed. I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, though. Peace.